Stuck is the worst place to be.
The worst. Yeah, in the sewer. That's what I used to call it. Like I'm in the sewer. And also, if you can just name it, right? Like I'm in the
Yeah.
sewer at the moment. Maybe I need to stay here for a while. Maybe that's part of my process, but at least being able to name what it is feels a lot better.
Then you come out of it right on the other
Yes.
end. Then maybe you're in like a spring or I don't know, a crystal blue ocean.
Yeah, like let's progress from the sewer to a beautiful mountain spring. That sounds
Yeah.
much more appetizing.
Well, this is why I'm excited to talk to you today as our next guest and diagnostic guru, Helen McKeon, founder of I'm All Out, a consulting practice in involving movement, reimagining how we work, lead, and sustain ourselves. And I think what's a really great, post about you that I love your banner that you have on
Oh, thank
LinkedIn.
you.
And it's really what has drawn me to you is where you have creating a life well lived beyond burnout. So I
Yeah.
know that's something we're going to talk a lot about today, and you're going to give a lot of snippets to the audience of how we can prevent that. But instead of me telling that story, I would like you to do that and maybe just give a little bit of highlights of your background and introduce yourself, and then we'll dig into the questions. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Let's see, the short version of all of the different versions of myself start in finance after college. I didn't really know how I got there, other than my mom was in back office finance as well. And it seemed like a good choice living in Charlotte, North Carolina. Why not? Everyone's doing it. And it didn't take me very long to recognize that it was not the place for me. The sexy title, the paycheck was really good. The upside long term looked really good. But the 10-year-old version of myself absolutely thought, you are boring. This is not creative. This is just not it for you. Not
Yeah.
what I imagined for myself. So taking a leap of faith to join Lululemon was one of the best things I ever did. I remember very clearly booking or telling my boss I was booking a dentist appointment, but really I was going to a Lululemon interview. And
Uh,
I had to change into my stretchy pants in the car to go into
that's
said
for
interview.
an
So,
interview. Could you
yes,
imagine?
yeah,
No suit.
no suit, into the stretchy pants.
Are they,
And
I hope they weren't see-through at that time.
at that time, they were good. Thank you for
Okay.
exactly. What a journey. But yeah, I can talk more about my time there for sure. It absolutely the building blocks of who I am becoming still today. But yeah, I had opportunities to work with them from Charlotte to Atlanta, LA, and then Melbourne, Australia. Eventually determined I needed a break. I needed to try something new. I sort of thought, is this going to be, the only thing on my resume for the rest of my life? And moved back to the States during COVID. During that time, I took a bit of a break, was actually coming through a bit of burnout at that time for myself, and started a new journey in automotive, joined Rivian. That was right before we IPO'd. So, very interesting time to jump on board there, helping to reimagine the dealership experience. And it was great to be at another brand that was so deeply connected to a vision greater than themselves. So a good fit overall. And then I had an opportunity to move back to the East Coast, where I'm originally from, and join a small startup here. So that's essentially how I got back to Charlotte. And then from there, it's been a few years, and determined not too long ago, the growth upside wasn't really there for me. And I thought maybe this was a good time to look at reinventing myself again, for maybe the third time, and discover a new way of working and really do something, at least on the side, that I'm personally really passionate about, which is supporting folks avoiding burnout in work, in particular women in leadership.
That's an impressive journey and career, very different.
Very different.
and very reputable organizations, and also different cultures. I can't imagine what that was like. So I'm sure we'll pull out each of those, sections of your career as we come across the questions here. But out of that journey, or maybe even today, where you are today, what would you say your greatest success is?
I honestly, during my time at Lululemon, this is a marker in my career. I'm not sure if I'll ever be, but hopefully, maybe one day. Um, I think I was in my fourth year with the business, and I had a big idea about hosting a men's experience and gathering men from all over the southeast of the US to come together and in an experience at the Whitewater Center. If you're familiar with that, it's a really great outdoor adventure center, essentially. And we built a 2 day experience for them to connect with each other, connect deeper with the brand. Growing the men's business was absolutely a key focus at that point in time. And it was an incredible event. And I ended up receiving the Entrepreneur of the Year award for the entire global brand for that
Wow.
experience. Yeah, it was the first event like that of its kind for all men. It was the first time a region, pooled resources to host something like that. And it was just an absolute joy to create. And then now the company has used that framework for, many more years after that. So it was a hugely impactful moment in my career, and came full circle in Australia during my last year with the company. I was able to host a similar experience with another colleague of mine who was at the very first one in Charlotte, to round out my time with Lululemon. So it felt like an amazing rocket ship at the beginning and a nice, beautiful way to tie it with a bow at the end.
I love stories like that because sometimes we leave things not necessarily undone, but we're not ready to leave them,
Yeah,
and to have that
absolutely.
opportunity to re-experience again is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't hear, it's funny when you think of Lululemon. I mean, I know they have a men's line, but you think of women clothing. So it's nice to hear a success story come out of a brand like that
Yeah,
towards men.
it felt disruptive at that time for sure
Yeah.
to put something like that on, and many of the attendees absolutely were like, what is this invitation, where am I going, what am I doing? So it took a lot of coaxing to even get many of them there, but once they understood and honestly experienced the product, they were hooked.
All right. So far we've got entrepreneurial spirit and a game changer.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what is one of the common threads that runs through your career moves? Because you've talked about how you sort of moved around a lot and changed direction. And how do you think this embodies what you're doing today with the whole cultural and community building and preventing burnout?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are probably a few things, but if I were to boil it down to one, there was a moment I remember very clearly, early in my time at Lululemon. I was in the back room and we were having some conference call about who knows what. But one of the prompts in the conversation was asking you when you feel in awe. When do you feel inspired to the point of awe? And everyone, shared their examples, and many of them were like in nature, big nature, like seeing the Grand Canyon or going on a gorgeous hike and seeing a waterfall, or going to a concert, and everyone's singing the words at the same time, and maybe it's raining in the summer or something. It's like, wow, you're just totally lost in the moment and feel small and also connected to something much bigger than yourself all at the same time. And I did feel like at my time there were moments where that was happening every day. And it's something, a feeling, an experience that I have been chasing and holding on to ever since, and
Mhm.
desperately wanting to support everyone around me, whether again, it's something internal, building teams, or if it's a brand creating an experience for their community, connecting more community to each other, to bring ourselves back to those moments of awe and passion and that connection to something bigger than ourselves is so important to me. I just feel like we have such a short amount of time on earth. And even between those moments, you're doing shitty, boring, like admin, to like get to the good stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how do we have more good stuff, coming in between all that shitty, boring stuff? So yeah, I work really hard to get to know my teams, my people, and figure out ways to make that part of a process and experience, a structure.
I want to work for you. Are you
You can work
hiring?
with me, that's for sure. Anytime.
It's so hard. That's something for me too. Like we spend so much time at work
Yes.
and it's, having that, I've had experiences like that where I've had teams where it's just like this baton pass off and it's just
Mm,
synergistic and it just feels good and it
in
feels
the
right.
flow.
It's the best feeling in the world,
Yes.
and when you don't have it, it's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like there's no in between. It's one,
Yes, it is true. It's hard. And I feel like, at least personally, work has been not only time, like a time chunk of my life, it's also just so important to me typically, whether that's in a healthy way or an unhealthy way.
Mm.
And difficult for me to determine what is balance really, like with a whole life. And over time, I continue to ask myself a lot of those questions, and also people I work with. What is important to you? Where do you want to be spending your time? And really understanding and respecting that of others. Just
Mm.
because I am fine to have, teams on my phone on the weekend does not mean it should be right for everyone. And really being honest about those things, it really isn't helping us be any more productive. So looking to carve out more time to see my life as that whole picture, and consciously choosing to spend my time doing other things besides defaulting to work.
It's a really hard thing to do, I think. I've been one who falls into that trap. It's very addictive at times, especially when we do use, whether it's Teams or Slack or other communicative, ways. And you feel like you're always on.
Yeah.
Like I don't can't even remember the last time I took a real vacation where I shut it all down for a whole
Yeah. Like
week, you
imagine
know.
leaving your laptop and phone at home. Like that just seems impossible.
No,
Yeah.
I almost have to sometimes there's just one place I know I can go that my phone does not work. And
Yes.
I try to go there at least once a year, if not every other year, because that's my excuse. Oh, sorry, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cellular. And people are like, okay. But as soon
Yeah,
as you tell them that there's, hey, can you get on this call or can you just look at
exactly.
no, we need those times. Often the bosses who feel that burnout like shame you, if you don't do the
Yes.
extra hours, I think are the wrong bosses.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's exactly right. Maybe I'll just start using that. Like, I don't have service regardless.
Seriously. I don't
Sorry.
I mean there's still a lot of places in America and all over the world that you don't have service, so it's not like
Yeah.
let's hope it stays that way.
Let's hope it stays that way. Yes.
So what must happen for us to increase access to entrepreneurial opportunities for women today?
Yeah. Increasing access. So if you can't tell, I'm a bit of a process girly. Like I like love my SOPs. I love my
Mm,
operating principles. Um, I use them as an access point to that creative freedom, to that entrepreneurship, the full expression. Um, I do think a lot of it can come through structure and norms within a business, or community, really. So people can really trust that you say it's safe to put yourself out there.
mm,
Um, what I think about entrepreneurship was a core value, or probably still is, I don't know, a core value at Lululemon. And how that came to life was we had this phrase, or maybe it was how we defined it. I can't exactly remember, but um, the expectation was to ask for forgiveness, not permission. And it's
Interesting.
very easy to, say that and or as a value, paint it on your wall, whatever people
Yeah.
say, like, and it just doesn't really mean anything. But within the brand and the company at every level, whether it was in stores or up into the HQ, whatever, you could see it. It was very clear to see how that came to life. So there were no real punishments for doing something that might be a little off brand or not quite right. The expectation was like, just try it and
Mhm.
don't slow down the giant machine that is this company by asking us 10,000 questions and approval processes and all this red tape. There was a trust that we've provided you enough information about what our goals are, what our values are. This is the sandbox you can play in. And if you accidentally stepped one foot out of the sandbox and one was still in, they would celebrate that. It'd be like, okay,
Wow.
next time, maybe let's adjust this one component of the thing you did, and that's okay. I asked for very little permission when building this giant experience. I just asked people to come along and join me in the journey for it. And everyone just said, okay, this is crazy. We've never done it before. And there I was getting an award for it. So
Wow.
I do think that whether it's women, well, women in particular, I think can feel stigmatized or not in the same like expectation as men, just like doing whatever they do and having this like hall pass or whatever. Um, like there needs to be checks and balances and a structure in place that allows for that experimentation to occur without punishment, and when you're doing that, that was something that made Lululemon so special, especially during like the mid 2000s, is everyone was just doing shit and trying
Yeah.
things, and it created so much buzz and excitement, and it's absolutely not like that anymore. It's way different. It's gotten so big. But
Yeah.
to me, I think that if you're going to define a value, or you're going to invite your team to become an entrepreneur, there needs to be some structures in place where you can understand how to play the game.
Yeah, because I would think, I mean, depending on personalities, there can be a little bit of competitiveness that could come out of it. Maybe some ill-willed, some not, and depending on your personality, some people can survive in that environment, some can't. But listening to you, it really inspires me to wish I had an opportunity like that to work somewhere where I had that freedom. I mean, even as a leader, as a C-suite leader, I'm given roles and titles, but half the time I have major guardrails,
Yes, yeah, it
and
can.
it's
Yeah.
hard to lead your team when you have those guardrails. You need to trust is so important.
That's right. Yeah, even in those structures, I mean, to a degree, it's very difficult to break out of it. That is 100% acknowledged. And in some instances, I think that, like, if I were in a position like that, I could imagine thinking, like, okay, where can I like hide in a corner and create a program, or an initiative that
Yeah.
I own. And from the outside, it may look buttoned up and, but I can create the culture within that experience that ignites that type of spirit and
Hmm.
freedom, creativity. So it feels like at least a safe space within something else that may not be absolutely as very progressive as how Lululemon was functioning at that time. But
Hmm.
how can I create a space that I can control?
That's a really cool concept. I really like that idea, actually. And then you're fueling people who have this, we all have different personalities, different superpowers, which we'll get into yours later, but um And if you crush that spirit in people, then you have an unhappy employee and they're not going to produce.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's all counterproductive.
Yeah,
The
I know.
more rules and it's obviously in some science fields or health, like yes, absolutely there's a different set of parameters to be working within and maintaining safety, but a lot of other companies that are functioning out there act like they're saving lives and they just aren't.
No. Well, with this experience, what could you say was your one good, your one bad, and your ugly, whether it was at Lululemon or other organizations that you've worked at to date?
Yeah. Well, my good is definitely the entrepreneur
Yeah.
award. I would say that was tops. My bad, I think I tend to not think in like good and bad that much, but if something is sort of in the middle, I'd say I can get a little hyperactive and anxious to change and move. And sometimes that works really well for me, and sometimes that is not very good in certain circumstances. But one in particular, I did leave not Lululemon, but another position, I think too early. And I wouldn't quite put it in the regret bucket. Like I'm happy with where I am now, but it's absolutely something where I look back and think, did I jump ship too quickly? Did I just like lose my patience a little too quickly? And yeah, that definitely crosses my mind.
Wow. You hit a nerve on me on that one because I've had similar experience.
Oh yeah, you
And
do?
I constantly yeah, second guess myself. Should I have done that?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, no, Leslie, just look forward, look forward.
Yes, yeah, a lot of self-coaching
Yeah, you
when
did it
that,
for a reason and stick to that reason and and learn
yeah,
from it. And yeah, wow. Is
yeah.
that also kind of go into your ugly?
My ugly would be different. My ugly was I was in a situation where a male senior leader and I had a I was basically told that I was doing something inappropriate, and there was like a conflict of interest in how I was working. And that was very inconsistent with my experience up until that point,
Huh.
very, very directly and indirectly. And so I felt pretty targeted in that instance. And
Mhm.
it was a really hard time, honestly. Like it made me question my worth. It made me question my instincts, my
Yeah.
value, all of the things that you can list off, and ended up taking a mental health break to process that experience. And
Sorry.
oh, yeah, it was tough. And nothing, everything I shared in my concern on the other side of that issue was just completely like ignored. So that was a very ugly corner of my career for sure. And of course, nothing happened to him. So
Well, we've heard a lot of stories like this, and I'm sure you were just being your authentic self,
yes,
and you were in a scenario, like you said, where you were in the confines of how things were supposed to be. So it's almost like one, he was threatened by you,
yes,
most
yeah,
likely,
yeah.
and found ways to make an excuse to get you out.
Yeah, yeah. It was another colleague of mine. She was actually my boss, and between us, and she had also a rough experience and was left the company as well. So it did feel pretty targeted and honestly like shocking. You can see this occur with other people, and I would definitely call myself a feminist, and I'm like, what the fuck? And you see like I'd come in finance. Finance was crazy in
Oh, I've heard stories.
2006 to
Yeah.
10. It was wild to be 23 female on the trading floor. So I'd been exposed to plenty of radical, like
Yeah.
misogynistic experiences, but to be in a position where I felt like I really didn't have any control. And I
Yeah.
had to just like let the scenario play out. I did everything I could. I said everything I needed to say. And to have no more control over the situation was very, very difficult.
And at that point, you were in your career where you're at a leadership level, right?
Absolutely.
So you
Absolutely.
should have more level of respect and control and understanding and a voice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was definitely um, not not an easy period of time, and I think it took me probably 2 years to really get over it. But
Not right.
yeah, and another reason why I'm like so passionate about supporting women in leadership and all the things and avoiding burnout, because it's like if you're burnt out and you're in a situation like that, you have to be like on your A game, which is so stupid to even say out loud, but
Well, it's
that's
hard to
kind of
do.
it.
Yeah, you're not thinking clearly. You're probably not
Yes.
sleeping. Yeah, I've been in a state where you literally eat, sleeping, and dreaming about the situation, and it becomes so toxic. You can't
Yes.
think about anything else. And yeah, it's disheartening that we have to go through stuff like that still to this day to show that we have worth and a seat at the table.
Yeah, I agree.
Before I let you go, I need to know what's your superpower.
Oh, what is that? I mean, it's like I knew this was going to be a question. I didn't prepare for it. I usually people say they think I'm brave.
Mm,
And
yeah.
what really that is about is just I'm very willing to be like, fuck it, I'll try something else. Or I'm going to move to Australia and I've never been there. I just tend to have like a little bit of that wanderlust spirit and very like curious, exploratory. And fortunately, I think my dad instilled a lot of confidence in me as a
Oh,
kid that always felt supported and just go for it. He listened to a lot of Zig Ziglar, if you know who that is. And so
yeah.
there's a lot of like positive pep talks happening when I was like learning to cross the monkey bars at age 7. Like, just say, I can do it. I can do it the whole time. And then you do.
Oh, wow.
So I have that deep within me. And I just love to say, yes, fuck it. I'll do it. I'll try something new. So I think
You have
that's
a
my
no fear
superpower.
mentality, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Just go for it.
What a great childhood.
Yeah, it was fun.
I just love that. I mean, I mean, that's the best time of your life when you're curious and you're not afraid of anything. And,
Yes.
if you start to produce doubt then that's it. It's over.
It's so true. I just said this to a friend of mine the other day. I can't remember what we were talking about, probably something more about wrinkles, but the youth is wasted on the young, you know that saying. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
now I feel that at a very, very real level.
It is. I mean, but I am seeing, being a mom with young kids, unfortunately, the social media aspect, how different it is as a child. Like my kids are more in tune, but also aware of things at their age that they should not be.
Yeah, I can
Where I
only
didn't
imagine.
know. Yeah, like I just felt like we were more sheltered. We are just going to school, playing with our friends, doing our sports, our activities, or whatever. Of course, there was mean, girls and
Yeah.
boys and all that, but I feel like today it's gotten so heightened.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to have access to hide behind a screen name or, and say those
Yeah.
things that it's terrifying. I hope that we find our way. It's sort of like the pendulum has swung so far since all of this is still, I feel like we're still on the rocket ship. It's all like going up, 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 and there's still so much new. I have a half sister who's 19 years younger than me. And so it's been fascinating seeing her grow up with social media, from day one, essentially, and
Mm.
her relationship with it. She uses it in a way that I'm like, what are you doing? So she doesn't really like to be on Instagram or like TikTok. She's not really into that. And I actually have a lot of other friends or like younger colleagues who are similar, but she's still online a lot. She might be
Interesting.
on YouTube and
Yeah.
using it for other things, but she's not necessarily into, which obviously a fair amount of young people are very into social media and being on social media. But I think there's a whole chunk of them who are like, I'm not really interested in being on social
Yeah.
media.
So I hope that you're right on that pendulum swing. I'm hoping my kids' generation is the one that's going to go back to like, voice recorders or whatever, answering
Yeah.
machines
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
and
like when you had
taping.
to text by hitting 1111 333, all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, let's go back to that.
Like they just don't want to be bothered. So let's hope,
I would
that
also,
everything in
yeah,
life is full circle, right? So,
that's right. Absolutely.
well, thank you so much for joining Diagnostic Guru today, Helen. It was a real joy to talk to you and sharing your personal journey with us. And I'm really excited for others to learn from you and see, because we do reach out to a really strong leadership women and women in science and finance and healthcare, and they all go through this same experience. But you're somebody who's at the helm who tries to drive positive culture. So we need
Yeah.
more people like you in our
Oh,
world. So
well,
thank
it's
you.
been a joy. And anyone and everyone, I love talking about this and brainstorming and kind of like we were saying earlier, finding ways to break the system in a good way to make sure you can at least control what you can control. And that makes a difference to the people you touch, on the daily basis.
I couldn't agree more. Control what you can control.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. It's been great.